Good evening. Please take your seat. The last panel of the day is going to take place. Thank you very much. Let me welcome the participants of the panel. Please, Manuel. We're going to have a photo taken in the front of the stage. You are so kind to line up. Well, good evening, and thank you for attending the final panel of the 2026 Spain Investors Day, the role of large investors in Spain's economic development. This panel will be moderated by Lara Hensawi, partner at Linklaters, and we will also have the participation of Manuel de la Rocha Vázquez, Secretary of State and Director of the Office of Economic Affairs and G20, Lord Davies of Abersoc, Chairman of Letter One and former UK Minister for Trade, Investment and Enterprise, Joseph Gurlian, Chairman of Amber Capital and Grupo Prisa, Bjorn Sivern, CEO of Six Group, and Javier Valle, Senior Managing Director of Apollo Global Management. Lara, please, yours is the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Juan. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this roundtable. It is a pleasure for me and for Linklaters to moderate this talk today. Spain is home to many global companies with a sophisticated financial sector and increasingly deep capital markets. We will discuss today how important the support of major international investors is to achieve growth and sustainability in the economy of Spain. In this session, we will discuss what policies and market developments may be needed to support the ambition of putting Spain as a leading destination for international investment. And now, turning to this luxury panel that we have today with us, as a general question to the group. What role can international investment play in support to growth, productivity, and quality employment in Spain? Mervyn, do you want to break the ice?
It's always tough to break the ice. I would say that on behalf of Letter One, I would like to thank the organizers. I think the 2 days I came last year, I think they are just a great advert for Spain. I love Spain, and I love Dia, which is our supermarket chain, which hopefully you're all going to be shopping at tomorrow. I think foreign direct investment, I spent 2 years as the minister for it in the UK. It's absolutely critical to the success of an economy. And I think what you need the best from every industry coming into a country, which raises the standard. But I do think, the nature of a partnership between business and government is fundamentally changing. And I think you see, I had the luxury of going to Hong Kong, China, going to India, going to Abu Dhabi in the last 3 months of the last year. And you realize the competition is intense. And so whether it's Spain, whether it's the UK, whichever country you look at, we're going to have better partnerships between business and government. We need continuity, we need boldness, and I think Spain, in doing this, I think is a very welcoming country for new investment. So a new form of partnership between business and politics, but also we're seeing in the US a new form of government. We're seeing in all sorts of different territories a paradigm shift because of geopolitics and AI. So I think foreign direct investment is critical, and that's why this sort of event is important. That's why I'm delighted to be here. We want to invest more in Spain.
Good to know.
That's all I need to say.
Joseph?
No, I subscribe to everything that's been said. Why wouldn't you invest in Spain? I mean, it's got great infrastructures, it's got an amazing energy mix, it's got a very capable labor force. It's a country that's in the heart of Europe. It doesn't suffer from major imbalances, you know, being sort of the public debt, the private debt, you know, it had issues in the past. I think what we've heard over the last 2 days from most panelists is that everyone recognizes that now it's a very balanced economy. I mean, I think I've been investing in Spain for 30 years, and I remember there were moments where, you know, there was major speculative bubbles, particularly in the real estate. I remember the times when people used to say, "Oh, you know, España es el ladrillo," not much more. And now it is much more. It is much more, and I think that's also the result of, you know, some public policies and private investments. I mean, I see some people from the utility sector. I remember Spanish utilities 30 years ago, wasn't much to talk about, and they've really transformed themselves. And now, you know, the fact that the largest utility in the world is Spanish tells you something about the strength of that industry. And that, for me, you know, as an investor, is critical. You know, I really look at any economy as essentially a process of transformation of energy. So if your energy mix is wrong, if your regulation is badly done, and if you don't really have the resources, then you're in trouble. And it's interesting to see how Spain has gotten ahead of everybody else.
Thank you. Manuel?
Thank you. Well, first, let me thank, as usual, Benito and the organizers of this year's event, which has become a landmark at the beginning of the year for attracting and promoting Spain as an international destination for investment. Responding to your question, clearly, foreign investment has become now a key parameter to assess whether the success of a country. I mean, foreign direct investment creates millions of jobs, brings technology, sources of knowledge and prosperity. And it is clear when you look at the latest figures that Spain has become, and last year again consolidated itself as one of the leading countries when it comes to attracting foreign direct investment. Let me give you 3 data points. First, Spain has attracted 650 billion in gross productive investment over the last 10 years. And despite the growing uncertainty at the international level, this flow continues to intensify. And last year, Spain received an investment volume of almost 19 billion just in the first 3 quarters of 2025, being France, United States, and the UK the main investing countries. Today, the third point, stock of FDI is close to 53% of GDP, clearly among the most internationalized, among the most open countries within the advanced economies, very clearly above OECD average, and much higher than countries like France, 30%, Germany, 26%, or Italy, 20.8%. We are at over 50%. This reflects both its role as a platform for global market access and the continued trust of international investors. Obviously, the impact of all these investments are huge in the economy. I just have a few points that the team has put together. 2 million direct jobs in Spain due to foreign direct investment, representing 9.7% of the total employed population and 8.6% of the active population at the end of 2024. So the question for me, there is no question that Spain is now one leading economy in terms of attracting investment. To me, the key question is, will investors continue to rely and trust Spain? Will investment flows continue to come to Spain? And to me, the answer is clearly yes in the medium and long term. And I'll give you 5 key parameters to assess that. 1, the economic prospects are really bright. Spain's economy has been one of the best performance in the last few years. We ended up with 2.9%, around 2.9% GDP growth, and prospects for this year, next year is above 2%, much higher than most large economies, particularly OECD. The second point is job creation remains robust. Last year, more than 480,000 jobs were created,
This is fueling domestic demand, underpinning private consumption and improving consumer sentiment, which is very important for investors also. Third, confidence, international confidence in Spain's economy is very high. We all have seen how rating agencies have upgraded the economy of Spain last year, the key rating agencies. This month, I checked this morning, Spain risk premium dropped below 40 basic points for the first time since 2008. We can borrow at lower prices, at lower interest rates than our surrounding economies that are larger and traditionally have been leading economies. IBEX 35 soared last year over 49%, the highest increase among all the stock indices of major developed economies except that of South Korea. Fourth key point, improved public finances. This is very important to see sound public finance management. The deficit has been decreased from the peak to over 10% to 5 to 6% that we probably ended last year, and the debt has been reduced 23 basic points is the peak where we have to increase our debt due to the pandemic. And five, last but not least, I think this is the most important. Productivity per hour worked in Spain continues to rise, and this shows a fundamental structural change in the Spanish economy, reducing unit labor cost pressures relative to wages and enhancing competitiveness. This supports improved business profitability and cost efficiency. Recently, many of you probably have seen a recent report by BBVA Research and the Instituto de Finanzas Valenciano that shows that Spain's productivity has increased at an annual rate of 1.4% since the pandemic. It might not seem very high, but this is the fastest growth in 3 decades and surpassing this stagnation observed in the European Union. So productivity growth is already happening, is going to be sustained, and this shows that the prospects are good. So in summary, the combination of macroeconomic stability, structural improvements, including fiscal consolidation, labor and education, reforms, abundant talent, and resilient financial context continue to make Spain, and will continue to make Spain in the foreseeable future, a very attractive place for international and domestic investors.
Thank you very much. Bjorn?
Yes, so we acquired BME a little bit more than 5 years ago. So running the exchange in Switzerland, we had a pretty good position, but we saw a great opportunity 5 years ago, a little bit more than 5 years ago, acquiring BME. And why was that? First of all, BME is a great exchange, and I'll get back to that in a second. But this second part, from a strategic point of view, BME was a great match for the SIX Swiss exchange. It is running equities, similar to what we do in Switzerland. It is running a strong fixed income market. It has a clearinghouse. It has a CSD. In many ways, a great match versus where SIX were running out of Switzerland. On top of that, acquiring BME also gave us a footprint inside EU. Being Swiss and being outside EU, it's of course great to have an exchange that sits within EU. So it gave us quite many opportunities to grow and expand into EU. On top of that, we run a platform business. So our business is all about scalability. So what we aim to deliver is when you want to connect and trade Swiss shares, it will be relatively easy for you also to connect and trade Spanish shares. So running Spanish equity, Swiss equity on the same platform. That creates economy of scale, makes it easier for banks, sell side, but also for investors to connect to the Spanish and Swiss market in one connection. We'll do the same also on the post-trade side. So when you settle trades, we also want to secure that it's easy. So when you want to settle your Spanish shares, it is more or less the same system, same process as we do in Switzerland. So again, back to my point around running a platform, creating scalability, and our right to win is mainly in Europe. So we mainly focus on our products, on trading and settlement inside Europe. On top of that, BME also had a nice data business, which is a part of what we do also at SIX. So I think in many ways, from a strategic point of view, it was a great match. On top of that, and I think that's also one of the reasons why I'm sitting here, I was also sitting here last year, and I was super bullish on the outlook for Spain. Last year I was happy I was that. I did not predict that the BME index surpassed 49%. Amazing, nobody predicted that. The best performing, as you said, index in Europe. And we had a strong listing year as well. So in 2024, we had at BME the biggest IPO in Europe. This year, we also, in 2025, we had more than 20 listings. And we know that we have our first listing already for this year, tomorrow, at the BME growth. So the momentum is for sure still strong in Spain. So not only in terms of a strategic, super attractive assets for us, BME, but also if you look at how we perform on the exchange part. So trading has gone up significantly, index has gone up significantly. When you look at listings, IPOs, the Spanish stock exchange, BME, was probably the most attractive listing venue last year and probably also the year before. And when I look at the pipeline for listings, I see a strong and healthy pipeline also for this year. Of course, you never know about the geopolitical situation and how that will evolve, but at least looking at where we are now with the pipeline and how we look at the start of the year, I'm also relatively bullish on what will happen for us this year. So from a strategic point of view, fantastic acquisition we did a little bit more than 5 years ago, but also looking at the momentum. I just have to say, running one of the most, if not the most attractive exchange in Europe, BME, also makes me proud and happy to be here, and great to see the strong commitment from so many investors being here today.
Thank you. Javier?
Great. Look, I'm going to continue with the bullishness and the optimistic view around Spain and investing in Spain, because I'm happy to say that at Apollo we are very bullish. We're very optimistic about the opportunity set in Europe, but also more importantly in Spain. We think there is very large capital demands in Europe, but importantly in Spain, which for us, hopefully this is, and we're very hopeful and we're very optimistic that this Spain is going to become a key pillar of our growth strategy going forward. I'll give you some data points. This is specific to Europe, but Spain is a very meaningful part of that. We believe there's 18 trillion of investment needed in Europe to face some of the important projects in the region. As I said, Spain is a very significant part of that, but we're talking about 18 trillion. This 18 trillion is predominantly some key sectors that in our minds revolve around energy transition, infrastructure, defense, data centers, robotics, new industrial and new manufacturing. We believe this is the global industrial renaissance, and it's happening in Europe and it's happening in Spain and it needs capital, and we want to deploy that. It's not, if you think about these projects that I just talked about, right? Those projects in our mind are very long-term in terms of the horizon, in terms of how long it takes to deploy, but also those projects are fundamental, critical infrastructure, and they require a very specific source of funding. We need to think about diversifying away from traditional sources of capital, and at Apollo, that's what we do. That's what we specialize on, right? So think about these type of projects on the one hand. Think about what we do at Apollo, which is predominantly provide private capital. What is private capital? Private capital is long-term, stable, patient, flexible capital. If you think about the projects that I just talked about, if you think about our capital, those two marry and match very well together, and we have a lot of appetite to deploy here, and we're very excited about the opportunity in Europe, but also more importantly in Spain. But it's not just about these projects, about the global industrial renaissance that I just talked about. Think about corporate financings. In our minds, corporates in Europe and in Spain are overbanked and are under capital markets financed. Mario Draghi has long argued that there is a need for significantly more longer-term market-based financing. Private capital is precisely that. There's also a renewed sense of urgency in terms of fueling and getting faster economic growth. Private capital can do that. We want to do that. I'll give you another data point. Non-bank lending in Europe and in Spain is around 12%. That figure in the US is 75%. That's 6 times higher. We're not saying that we're going to get to those levels, but it gives you an idea around the white space opportunity for private investment. So for us, it's around the size of the opportunity, which is huge in Spain. It's about the type of projects that we're talking about. It's about the type of capital that we at Apollo can provide, and it's about our track record. I'll give you some quick numbers. We have been very active in Europe. We have been deploying in Europe and in Spain for over 25 years. 25% of our assets under management are actually deployed here. We've got 500 people on the ground. We have done it already. We want to even grow that even more so. In the last few years, we've committed to 50 billion of corporate financings. We've done that with high-grade, high-quality companies. Think about RWE, think about EDF, think about Air France, Bonovia. This is elsewhere in Europe. We want to do that in Spain. That's why we're here. Think about also the assets that we're talking about with these companies. These assets serve millions of households. They employ thousands of individuals. They benefit regional but also national economies. That's an example of how we at Apollo, from a private capital perspective, can help fuel economic growth. Over the last few years, we've also been very active in energy and energy transition. We deployed 17 billion around the sector. Think about 6.5 billion with Ørsted to buy half of the largest wind offshore platform in the world. That benefits 3 million citizens in the UK. Think about 3.2 billion with RWE to help finance the expansion of the grid that's going to serve 30 million households in Germany. Think about 4.5 billion pounds with EDF to finance the largest energy transition project in the UK. That's going to benefit 6 million citizens in the UK. We want to do that in Spain. I'll come back in a minute to Spain, but because we've also been active. We're on the infrastructure side. We've deployed and we're invested in Prima Frio. In elsewhere, we also provided a private solution to a global healthcare company. We also invested last year in one of the fastest growing e-commerce platforms specializing in sports, where we partnered up with the founder, and we want to take that business together with the founder to the next level. They've done a great job, but we think that with our capital, with our expertise, we can scale that up to becoming a multi-billion company. So we talked about the size of the opportunity. We talked about the type of capital that is required to meet that, the type of capital that we have at Apollo on our track record, hopefully, and it's not just because we're bullish. This is going to become even more important and will help fuel the economic growth that we all expect to happen in the country.
Thank you. Bjorn, Manuel mentioned how well the IBEX 35 performed last year. 2025 was an extraordinary year for the Spanish stock market. In your opinion, what have been the main reasons for that, and what has that meant for issuers and for the Spanish economy in general?
Yeah, so first of all, it's a mix of many factors. Some would argue, you could also say Spain has been catching up a little bit versus the rest of Europe over the last 3-4 years. So that's one factor. But most importantly for me is actually there are so many great companies here in Spain, and they have performed great. So of course, great performance, great trust. Also, of course, sector is also relevant when you look at the performance. So I think it has been a mix of many things. On top of that, and I touched upon it, when you have the leading index, IBEX 35, growing with more than 49%, right? It's an amazing number. You also get momentum within the investor base. And of course, that gives even stronger momentum and appetite for listing. As I alluded to earlier, so we did more than 20 listings across the main market and our growth segments last year. So I think actually the whole sentiment is strong. So when you see companies perform great, when you see the index doing well, the investor appetite is also a little bit more open towards investing in some of the new companies. So it's a great mix of many things. So that I think that's a key part. And that's what we also want to carry it with us going forward. You touched upon, and we heard about the retail engagement. I think that's something that I still feel we can do a little bit more here in Spain and across Europe. The Draghi report talks about how do you engage retail investors much more in Europe. In US, retail participation is more than 30%, 30, where in Europe it's around 12-13%, depends on which country you look at, but on that level. So for us in Europe to stay more competitive, that includes Spain versus US, we need to up our game, and bank financing is not the only solution. We need to have retail as a part of the solution. So that is also one of the things that I think we can do better in Europe, and also one of the things that we will focus on here from a point of view here in Spain. Can we activate retail participation much more so they are part of the fantastic performance on the equity market that we have seen in Spain?
Mm-hmm. And Joseph, in your case, because you have been present investing in Spain for quite a long time, what is currently motivating you and Amber to continue believing that Spain is a destination for international capital?
Well, I mean, there's many different stories in the Spanish market. So it's we're involved, for instance, in Indra, which is defense, and I needn't explain anything about the investing in the defense sector after the brilliant panel that just explained, and also the case that the Minister of Defense made for investing in defense. And I think that's a trend, unfortunately, reading the news every day in the best newspaper in the world, naturally, El País. Unfortunately, it looks like that's a trend that's set to continue. I like the comment on the investment that was made by Apollo and Atletico Madrid, and I'm an Atletico fan, and I'm delighted to hear that Apollo is going to spend the money to make it to the final of the Champions League and win it. Naturally, I've been waiting for this moment for a while.
If you could come to Spurs next, it'd be great.
Spurs is a long shot, I'm afraid. Yeah, I don't see that, but anyway. So yeah, I think that it's interesting because if you look at the IBEX, you're kind of you're looking at an index that is very geared towards utilities and financials. And let's face it, last year utilities and financials did very well, particularly financials. Banks did very well. They've done very well. They played catch up over the last few years. But if you start sort of scratching underneath, there's a lot of interesting smaller size companies that deserve to be looked at. I mean, for one, I'm chairing one, and again, I love the comments from Apollo that wants to finance all these SMEs, and I'll give you my card when we're done with this panel. Because it's not been that easy to finance these companies, I have to say that. But there's a lot to be said. For instance, when we look at our strategy at Prisa, and everyone in that company had been focused on news information for years, which is great. But when we looked at what we could do to expand internationally, there's so much that the Spanish culture has that lends itself to exporting abroad. And I'm looking at sort of the cultural side of things. We talked about football. La Liga for us has been a great way to sell our newspaper AS abroad. We talked about music. Los 40, which is the leading brand not just in Spain but throughout Latin America. This is the time of Latino music, be it Latin American going to Spain, Spanish going into Latin America. But those trends are doing very well in the US market and in the rest of Europe, or even the Spanish way of life, which is a good way of life. And I think again that there's a lot to be done there, and this country has been sort of undersold for a long time. We're celebrating the 50 years of democracy, but the regime that was before that was sort of darkness, and the last 50 years this country's been opening up. It's been trying to sell itself, but it has so much to offer. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff beyond the financials, the utilities, the renewables, the infrastructure, the data center, you know, all the stuff that, which is a lot of money, and you know, of course, there's a lot of stuff, a lot more that's going to come up.
And Marvin, in the case of letter one, what is your investment strategy in Spain, and what sectors you think could be interesting for you?
I think, if I may, I did 2 years in politics, and even though you're a lawyer, I learned never answer the question. I do think that what I've seen, we're long-term investors, so we're across a range of industries, and we're very excited about DIA, but also other sectors in Spain. But I think, if I may step back a little bit, I think one of the things when you run a conglomerate of businesses and interests, and I'm sure the panel would agree, is we have black swan events now every couple of months. When I was growing up in financial services, you were trained for that black swan event scenario planning. Now they're happening all the time. And I think we've got to accept in business that we need managers that can adapt very quickly to the change. We're in an industrial revolution through AI. We're in a seismic change in geopolitics. You need managers that can grasp it. And so what I have seen in Spain is great talent, very international in mindset. And I think that is a little bit different to other countries. So I think, in answer to your question, as a long-term investor, we're looking for businesses which we can grow, but we're not looking to exit in a short period of time. But I think the number one thing in business today is talent. We're looking for businesses that have talent and that have the capacity to grow. And I think that is a real challenge across the world at the moment, is the pace of change, as I said right at the start, in India, in China, in Vietnam. We in Europe have got to cut the bureaucracy. We've got to move faster. Otherwise, these other places are going to eat our lunch. And so what we look at L1 is the businesses that have got the management to cope with a very fast-changing world. Mm-hmm. And we're looking hard. I'll give you my card afterwards.
Manuel, with all that we are hearing, what specific measures is the government taking to consolidate Spain as a leading destination for major international investors?
Okay, well, the first thing I would say, just reiterating what I said, is what investors look for is stability. So this country has macroeconomic stability, political stability, and social stability, which are prerequisites for investors to come. But this is not nearly enough. And this government, I think, has been very proactive in trying to attract investments, partnering with private sector to catalyze and mobilize funds and investors. I want to give you 4 areas where we are taking initiatives over the last year and continuing. The first one is the green agenda. Spain, as you all know, is a leading country when it comes to the deployment of renewables, and is well recognized across the world as leader in the green agenda. In fact, all the economic transformation, the transformation of the economic model that we are pursuing hinges on, you see, in the deployment of green energy. And for that, we need to upgrade our grids, you know. So it is all about clean and cheap energy and industrial decarbonization. So last year, we presented and anticipated the new planning for the electricity planning, which is, as we call it, for the next 5 years. What does that mean? That we need to improve and enhance and invest in our grids. So we are going to invest 13.5 billion in the grids, in the transportation grid, which is 66% more than the previous period. And we are asking the utilities to invest around 7 billion in the distribution grids, and this is critical. And we are changing regulations to incentivize more investment there, increasing the rate of return to maintain the pace for our green agenda and transform our industry and ensure that we have decarbonization. The second area I want to mention is housing. Certainly this country has a housing problem. I mean, no one is denying that. The Bank of Spain talks about 700,000 housing units that are needed to cover the demand. So what we have done over the last year, we have created this state company called Casa 47, which is endowed with 2,500 land plots and 45,000 new housing units for Sareb, and now is building 25,000 new units, so through public-private partnerships. But moreover, we launched the new Housing Estate Plan 2026-2030, which involves 7 billion euros for the next 5 years, which is also a significant increase from the past. 40% of that is going to be done through public-private partnerships, through surface rights, through long-term financing, through some subsidies, with the aim of building new 65,000 units, which is very important in the housing. The third area I want to mention is technology. This country cannot allow itself to lose the race to technology. We are seeing AI and what is happening out there. So we thought, what else we can do to promote technology and being in the cutting edge? So as you remember, 3 years ago, we created a state company called SET, the Sociedad Estatal de Transformación Tecnológica, which last year was its full year to invest. And some people here have said, the problem that we have with all the financing is through banking. So we want to be active and investing. So last year, SET invested 1.2 billion in 40 operations, mostly half of them in private equity funds, growth funds, and directly in companies in areas like AI, chips, deep tech, gigafactories, and this is creating an ecosystem that is very important. So the fourth area is defense. I don't want to elaborate too much because, I know there was a panel before with the minister, but you see, we are making an opportunity out of the need. This country committed, this government, to reach the 2% in terms of our defense and security spending, honoring our international commitments with NATO and our allies. So we launched a technology plan for defense and security with around 10.5 billion euros. And what we are saying to the companies is, yes, we will increase this defense, but this has to be about jobs, skills, and technology. There are 31 modernization plans, and this is direct acquisition here and elsewhere by the Ministry of Defense. So we are talking to the companies, some of the CEOs are here, and we are telling them we have to consolidate this sector to make it grow. We want to see industrial plans with each of these programs. We want to see how you track along the SMEs, and we want to see investments. It's not just waiting for the contracts. We want to see the investments following suit in various territories, so that this is innovation, technology, skills. We want to see skills. The final point has to do with the recovery plan and the next generation. As you know, this is the last year of our recovery and transformation plan and resilience plan with finance through the Next Generation EU. Last year it was successful. We have already executed 63 billion out of the 80 billion in transfers. We negotiated very hard a simplification addenda last year to prepare ourselves for this last year. So this is our last year, and we have to execute all the funds which, as you know, have been, the recovery plan has been a great source of innovation. We created the PERTES through public-private partnerships, but the next generation funds come to an end this year. So we want to avoid an investment cliff, because the recovery plan has been really a catalyzing in terms of private investment. So we have been thinking very thoroughly, how can we maintain the investment effort throughout the years beyond 2026, coming up with new innovative instruments. And I am glad to say that the President will say something about that later on. I cannot, but we have been thinking through, and I think the President will allow me to leave it for the President later on, but we are thinking how to maintain this investment, accompanying the private sector for the foreseeable future, and there will be some interesting announcements later on by the President.
Good to know. I think we are running almost out of time, but Javier, the transaction, the acquisition of the majority stake by Apollo in the Atlético de Madrid has been mentioned. I'm sure everyone will be very happy to hear directly from you a bit about that deal and how your private capital model has played with the acquisition of that stake.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, it's been in news quite a while, and I talk about being excited about investing in Spain, but Atletico Madrid obviously goes directly into my heart, and hopefully into the hearts of many more around the room, because we're very excited. As you said, it was recently announced, hasn't closed yet, so we have to be very careful, but we announced a transaction whereby we would become the majority shareholders of Atletico Madrid. And there's a couple of things I think are important to note on the transaction. One is the setup, because it is true that we will become the majority, but we're doing this in partnership with the best management team and the best owners that the club has had and possibly had, which are Miguel Ángel Gil and Enrique Cerezo. I'm doing this and I'm saying this in partnership because they will continue as shareholders, but they will continue as well running the club. For us, there's no better management team, there's no better CEO, no better president than Enrique and Miguel Ángel. The rest of the management team is amazing, and we're here to support them and help them grow what it is already one of the most successful clubs, become even better. So that's in terms of the setup. It's a partnership transaction with them. The second is around the asset. And for us, the asset is not just one of the most successful football clubs. It is also about the history, it's about the values, it's about the legacy, it's about how the club is entrenched in the community. That's invaluable. That is very resilient. There's no way to replicate that. And it's not just that, it's about the Ciudad del Deporte, the Sports City complex. People think about the club and the stadium, but we're talking about a 800 to 900 million real estate and sports and entertainment project around it, which in our minds is going to become the destination in not just Madrid, not just Spain, but also Europe when it comes to sports and when it comes to entertainment. And I'll finish up here talking about, and just saying that this is obviously a very important investment for us in sports. Sports for us is a 2.5 trillion investment opportunity. It's not just about ticket sales. It's not about just sponsorships. It's about media. It's about merchandise. It's about wellness. It's about live events. We think this is one of the most interesting sectors that has infrastructure-like characteristics, and we're very excited about our opportunity here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much all for your participation. It's been a pleasure for me to share this time with you.
Thank you.
Great to see you again. How are you?
Muchas gracias. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your intervention. Please, we need to exit the room as soon as possible, and you may have a coffee in the net.